For 100 years, the University of Richmond School of Law has been breaking barriers in the legal profession. While women have faced an uphill battle in the profession, progress has come hand in hand with these challenges. Just before the 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920, Richmond Law had begun accepting female students. Just a few years later, its first graduate would begin paving the way for all of the alumni who have followed. Today, 60%, more than half, of Richmond Law's entering class are women. Jane Brown Ranson was the first woman to graduate from Richmond Law in 1923, but for her, it hadn't been the easiest road. Shortly after graduating, Ranson filed 2 defamation lawsuits against the university. As a student, she had received a Most Improved Award for the study of law that she alleged was given to imply her inferior knowledge of the law, despite ranking second in her class. The outcome of these suits is unknown. Early victories for women gaining licensure, winning elected offices, and serving as judges continued the momentum. More women enrolled at Richmond Law to pursue careers in the law, but it would be decades before one would step behind the lectern. In 1976, Nina Ricky Kasten became the law school's first female full-time faculty member. She was younger than some of her students and fresh from New York University's tax program when she began teaching at an institution still dominated by Virginia gentlemen. One of her former students wrote, "Ricky was powerful and successful, not only because she was intelligent, but because she had courage. She had the courage to be the first, many times." Kasten sadly succumbed to cancer before she came up for tenure. And today, both a scholarship and a separate service award are given to students in her memory. Eight years after the first woman was hired full-time, Okiana Christian Dark became the first African-American woman tenured at the law school and the university. Her teaching received several distinctions. Twice, she received the university's Distinguished Educator Award, and the Virginia Women's Attorneys Association honored her with its Distinguished Faculty Award. Dark now serves as Associate Provost for Faculty Development and Professor of Law at Howard University. In 1992, Richmond Law hired Aiza AlHebri. She brought both experience in corporate law and an abiding commitment to human rights. AlHebri's scholarship focused on issues of Islam and democracy, human rights in Islam, and Muslim women's rights. Since retiring in 2012, she has served on a national task force examining federal policies and actions related to the capture, detention, and treatment of suspected terrorists. And she was also appointed by President Obama to serve on the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom from 2011 to 2013. Throughout the decades, Richmond Law has seen steady growth in the number of women represented in its full-time faculty. From a sole individual in 1976 to now more than half. 32 of Richmond Law's 55 full-time faculty members are women. Richmond Law achieved another milestone in 2011 with the appointment of Wendy Purdue as Dean of the Law School. She is also the first woman to serve as dean of any law school in Virginia.
Richmond Law alumni have had a huge impact over the last 100 years. As lawyers, judges, business people, community leaders, they've been changing their communities, the state, and the country, all for the better. It's so exciting to see the progress we've made. There's so much for us to celebrate. Over the last 100 years, we've seen amazing progress for women lawyers in general, and Richmond Law alumni in particular.
In recent years, philanthropy has played a significant role in the recognition of women at Richmond Law. In 2022, the law school received a generous donation in memory of Nancy Litchfield Hicks, class of 1985, to establish the first professorship at Richmond Law named for a woman. It was awarded to Professor Jessica Erickson, who is now the Nancy Litchfield Hicks Professor of Law. And just this year, to honor a century of women at Richmond Law, Mary Lou Kramer, class of 1975, made a generous lead donation to establish the Law Women's Centennial Scholarship. This important new scholarship endowment will pave the way for future students to experience a world-class legal education here at Richmond Law in the next century and beyond.
Women lawyers and Richmond women lawyers are leading bar associations, managing law firms and corporations, creating and leading nonprofits, and serving on the bench. Today, 1/3 of the judges in Virginia are women, and many, many of them are Richmond Law grads. I'm so proud to be a part of this institution as we move forward and celebrate the next 100 years of women graduates.